Now, get started with introducing our two speakers today. We have Josh and David. Josh is here with me at Tulip. Josh, do you want to give a quick introduction about your work here?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
We can.
So I am Josh Richard. I'm an application engineer at Tulip. Basically, I work with our customers. A lot of my job is working with our customers to make sure that their devices and their machines and their sensors and their systems of record are connected to Tulip easily and efficiently. So that's the vast majority of what we're talking about today, and so that's why I'm here, kind of shedding some of the experiences that I had onto everyone here.
One of our industry experts, and then we're also joined by Dave Martin from our partner company CPS. Dave, why don't you give a quick intro to yourself and CPS, and then get us started on today's agenda.
Great. Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Caitlin. So my name is Dave Martin. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Clear Process Solutions. I lead our manufacturing and operations practice. And I've worked in manufacturing for about 25 years, where I've led operations, engineering, continuous improvement, and global quality. A little bit about CPS. So our goal is making complex things simple. So we help our customers automate their business processes and integrate their shop floors. And we do that by leveraging low-code platforms for workflow, robotic process automation, and shop floor integration. Some of our expertise is in integration with SAP and other ERP systems, with PLM systems, CRMs, and others. And as Caitlin mentioned, CPS is a key partner with Tulip, and we utilize the Tulip platform to help customers with their shop floor integration. So we build apps either for our customers or along with our customers, and we help build integrations for our customers to support their citizen developer programs through professional services, as well as through on-call support and other programs. So first, I'm going to give a quick overview of the webinar today. So we're going to talk through a few key areas. So first, empowering your frontline workers with digital workflows. We're also going to talk about collecting data from devices, machines, and sensors, and getting more value from your existing systems of record, like your ERP systems, your CRM systems, et cetera. And we're also going to take some time for questions and answers. And please, along the way, if you have questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. So first, I want everybody to think about your shop floor today. And if you think about the shop floor in terms of you think about the processes that happen out on the shop floor, and think about those in terms of workflows. So you think about, there's a lot of manual and paper-based processes or workflows. So you have manual performance tracking on your Kaizen boards. You have your travelers, your routings, your schedules, your work instructions, your inspection forms. Those are all over the place. Your shop floor is probably covered in paperwork. And your operators are probably walking around, spending time, wasting time, looking for supplies, getting new tooling, getting new raw material, maybe asking for help. And you think about all those manual workflows that take place today and the amount of time that is lost. And I've been in probably 100 plants over the years around the world, and I see this in most of the plants that I'm in. We have these manual workflows, they're paper-based, they're not integrated with the other systems that you have. And think about how much these stand in the way of making your operators successful. So often our operators, they don't have the right information at the right time. When they need assistance, or maybe they need additional materials or supplies, think about how often your operators are walking away from their machines instead of running good parts to go find help or go get the supplies they need. So they're wasting valuable production time, they're probably frustrated, and they're risking your quality. And the same thing goes for supervisors and managers. So think about the amount of time that your supervisors and your managers spend getting information they need about their processes. And it's a huge investment in their time. Chances are you probably have admins or others taking the paperwork that your operators generate and entering that into your ERP system or into a database somewhere, printing out paperwork and bringing that out to the shop floor. a lot of times that data, it's not usable for a day or more. And if your supervisors want real-time information, maybe you go and write it on a whiteboard hourly or daily or something along those lines. So start to think about, what would it look like if you could easily integrate all those systems that you already have? Think about how, if you give the operators the information and the tools they need to do their job, give your leaders the information to drive improvements and make better decisions. We're going to talk through that today. I'm going to give a little bit of an example of some work that we've done for some of our customers, and then Josh at Tulip is going to go into more detail about how that works. So again, think about your shop floor. You probably have a lot of cases where you don't have good visibility to work in process. You don't have the data you need to determine root cause or causes of error. You've got downtime and you don't have the data to solve those downtime problems. You probably have workers that are taking too long to train, and you probably have human errors, especially in your assembly and your kitting processes. You have errors being made. The really interesting thing when you start to move to Tulip, to an app platform like Tulip that's a no-code platform, is now your frontline support, your frontline engineers, your technicians can start to quickly develop what we call app solutions, or apps. Think about apps on your phone, and they can start to quickly build out apps that give you production visibility, machine monitoring, training modules for your operators, work instructions, and those work instructions can be integrated with IoT devices. They can be integrated with your machines. Josh is going to talk about that, and they can provide you all that information. Then can give you real-time analytics to your manufacturing. Just going to give you a couple examples. These are some screenshots of some apps that we've built for some of our customers. So think about if you could provide all your operators all the information in one spot, and that was integrated to your other system. So here we have, this is a starting screen that we built, again, for a customer of ours that an operator would use. Simple single screen. The operator has her schedule of the next jobs over here on the left. She chooses the next job. That touches base with their ERP system, and it brings up the key information that they would want, eliminating the need for a job packet or a traveler. Once that operator starts her job, she gets information that she needs to run the job. In this case, this is the first piece inspection or setup screen. So she gets a CAD drawing that has been pulled directly from the PLM or the CAD system. She has information on tolerances and the prints and the print dimensions that are critical, and she can put that information directly into the system, and she can either do that typing it in, or she can have integrated devices, mics or calipers or other tools. She can put that in directly. That information can also be sent directly again to your system of record, whether it be ERP or a database or something else. That information then can be used to provide the operators and the supervisors with real-time information. So you can have your SDC or your quality data. And then all that information that you've collected, whether it's the information that's been entered directly by the operator, or information that's being generated in the background, your employee ID, your timestamps around when different activities take place, that all becomes part of a permanent record that can be utilized by your analytics systems. It can be utilized by your other SBC systems. If you want to generate a report for your customers, quality or an inspection report for your customers, you can do that quickly and easily because all that information is there. No more entering that, having to re-enter that information directly into your ERP system. It's entered directly through the Tulip system. And then we can build, and you can build other workflows that optimize your operator's efficiency. So again, think back to some of the examples I gave the other day. Well, if your operator wants to report a nonconformance or kick off an MRB process, click of a button can start that process. So if your operator wants to request material, maybe she's running short on her material, she can request that material. That workflow goes to somebody in your tool crib or your material warehouse, and that material will be brought to the operator. Or just maybe the operator needs help and wants to ask for help from a supervisor or somebody on the QC team to come out and help her out with a problem that she's having. All those can be built into these apps quickly and easily to drive that improvement and that efficiency for your operators. And then when all this data is integrated and it's real time, now you can provide real time visibility. And this is what's on the screen here is just a demo of showing an app that we built for one of our customers here. And this is providing real time machine performance. This is showing OEE, uptime, and behind the scenes is a lot of deep dive data that the supervisors and the other leaders can use to go in and troubleshoot performance if need be, and find ways to optimize their production. All this information is available mobilely as well. So you can see all this information on your phone or your other device. So when you're away from the shop, whether you're like us and you're working from home because of COVID and you can't be in the shop all the time, or you're just in another plant, you want to see the performance and you want to know how your critical machines are doing. That can all be integrated quickly and easily. And it's really, it's simple to do. And so as I hand it over to Josh, he's going to start to talk about some of the ways that that's done, and he's going to give more information about the Tulip platform and some of the tools that are available.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So we'll start, I guess, with manufacturing apps. What are they? They're essentially ways, kind of like what Dave was talking about, to turn things that are currently analog processes and workflows into digital processes and workflows. So basically making it so that you can change things quickly if you need to iterate and improve, like following lean methodologies. You can make it's a way to kind of like clearly and easily and efficiently communicate information to your frontline workers with the information that they need specifically at that point. And so like you don't bog them down with a bunch of extra information that they have to like sift through visually. It's interactive in the sense that it connects to devices and machines. I'll get to that in just a moment. It's data-driven, meaning that it automatically collects all of this data in real time, and then it is intelligent with our no-code logic engine that essentially makes programming things require like very little, zero programming experience, but also very little like training time, uptime. It's the learning curve is pretty easy with our if then else trigger logic. So I'll talk a little bit about the Tulip platform as a whole. We have three main components that we usually focus on. The first is the app builder, the manufacturing app builder. There is the website, I guess you could say. It's like just a SaaS offering. It's a website. You go to it in your browser and you can edit anything, edit your manufacturing apps like you would a PowerPoint presentation. And then you kind of expose that to the end user, whether that's like a supervisor who's looking at dashboards of real-time statuses, or your frontline workers, helping them through whatever process they're working on with these digital workflows in the Tulip player. So that's kind of the first part, and one of the biggest parts of our platform. The middle component here is the IoT system integration. This is, I mentioned briefly, the devices and machine connectivity via either like over the internet, over just TCP/IP, or from one of the Tulip Edge devices that we'll mention in a little bit. And then finally, the manufacturing analytics engine that comes baked into Tulip essentially provides you with an equally as easy way to kind of gain helpful insight into how the apps that you're building are performing on the shop floor. The idea is that you can create like a pretty seamless kind of continuous improvement feedback loop. So on the left-hand side, we've got all of these, analog and sort of archaic systems, whether those are paper or they're legacy manufacturing systems, or machines or sensors that are, 40 plus years old, and should probably be in a museum rather than a shop floor, or like old systems of record, like ERPs and stuff like that. Not old in the sense that outdated and unuseful, old in the sense that they're very well established, and really critical to production. But anyway, so you take all of these things, you kind of like apply Industry 4.0, the digital revolution in the Tulip platform, and you can create this feedback loop where you're building applications, deploying them to your shop floor, analyzing with the analytics engine, and talking to your shop floor operators, thinking like, how did this process work previously? I know we've been doing it on paper for the last 10 years. Is this we're now doing it on this platform? Is it better? Is it easier for you to use? What can I change about this? Is there any information here that you don't have that you need, or vice versa? And you can create this feedback loop so that you're constantly improving, constantly getting better, and kind of thinking about how your shop floor runs in a different way. So this is a great slide. This is just like emphasizing the fact that you can empower people on the shop floor with the Tulip platform in this very simple what you see is what you get app editor to kind of build your processes, your digital workflows, and then like manage the logic behind those workflows using our trigger system. So that's the first section. I'm going to move into the second section now, which is collecting data from devices, machines, and sensors. If we haven't harped on it enough, this is the current ecosystem. It's machine statuses being tracked on paper. It's complex HMIs that you need to be a machine programmer to understand. It's paper-based job tracking, and it's sensors that are older and require human input to like understand the measurement, but then also maybe do some calculations manually, and then record that calculation on a piece of paper for submission to a later repository of data. And so, the obvious point here is that manual data collection slows down operation and creates opportunity for errors and inefficiencies, right? The opportunity for error should be pretty obvious in that, operators are constantly having to do context switching and, do the job, but then also, write down the fact that they did the job. With so much kind of non-work that needs to be done in recording that data, you're creating just more opportunity for human error, frankly. Sixes look like nines, and sometimes business decisions get made on those problems. And so like trying to avoid that is absolutely critical to keeping production online and efficient. So Tulip, it's one of its missions is to enable automatic, non-invasive machine and app-based data collection that both error-proofs and increases efficiency. So it error-proofs in the sense that it's automatic. It's digital processes that are taking this data directly from the devices themselves and bringing them up to the cloud for later analytics by frontline workers, supervisors, et cetera. And then it obviously increases efficiency in the sense that this is a non-invasive process. The data collection happens automatically, like I said, directly from the device. There's no like pausing for operators to do something that is not actually getting their work done. You save a bunch of time and effort there. So in Tulip, it's really simple to do this. Or that's like our main mission. One of our main missions is to make it really simple to do this. On the left-hand side, I'm not sure if you can see my pointer, but on the left-hand side here, you see a simple diagram with an operator or frontline worker using a torque gun or a digital caliper that's connected to a Tulip Edge device, and that data gets sent directly to the cloud in the middle of the process. So this is like inline quality checks. This is like data collection that's automatically happening as processes are being worked on. And all of that is like super plug and play. You take a barcode scanner that's got a USB port, you plug it into the Edge device, and data is getting sent up to the Tulip platform. And on the right-hand side, we have an example of like a machine shop. We've got 3 machines here. 2 of them, the 2 on the left, are newer machines. Meaning like, machines made probably after roughly 1990, maybe in the last 20 or 30 years. And these have like more modern protocols like OPC UA or MT Connect or Modbus TCP. PLCs, like computers inside the machines that have a little bit more brain to them than an older machine. If you go, further back in time and you've got a machine that, like I said, probably belongs in a museum, more likely, then you need probably analog sensors to monitor that. And so that's representative of the machine here on the right. This is a machine that's connected to a Tulip edge device, and that's the way that the data gets to the Tulip cloud. The sensors, like what does connectivity look like for an analog machine? Well, it's typically via a sensor, so something like an inductive sensor or proximity sensor. You could use like current sensors or clamps, anything to kind of monitor the current state of the machine. Like how much is electricity is it drawing? Is the spindle, is that moving back and forth? So you could measure that with like a proximity sensor, and then you could understand, well, my machine's moving at least, so I know that something's happening, and then you can start to drill down further into that by collecting more data to provide more context. So I just spoke about machines, but just briefly jumping back to the devices portion, Tulip has quite a few devices that it integrates with out of the box. These are all listed on our website, tulip.co/devices. I've got in the middle here an example of one of our app bundles. This is the assembly instructions for building a bike. So you'll see this step here is the tighten the derailleur and mount on a frame step. So you're essentially performing an operation on the bike frame, and you're doing so with a torque gun. And you'll see, again, I'm not sure if you can see my pointer, but in the bottom, towards the bottom here, you have a torque data section where you see the force in Newton meters from the torque gun, and that's 50.31, the amount of torque applied to the bolt or the screw that you're operating on. And then a torque status is the OK with the green background. That's the torque gun telling you in real time that the amount of torque that was applied to this screw or bolt, that was like proper and in spec for what would be expected. On the right, you see a work order too. This is like theoretically coming directly from an ERP or an MES that kind of cross correlates the part that the operator is working on with the parts that they're using to construct to perform their operation, as well as the tools that they require to do that job. And then finally, another example of this data actually gaining insight, adding value. We have this analytics engine where you can build single line bar charts, Paretos, or bar charts, line charts, single numbers, tables, Paretos, all that stuff is built into Tulip. And then just quickly touching on machine monitoring here. So machine monitoring in Tulip is a little bit different in that we focused primarily when we intentionally early on focused primarily on the human operator and then kind of expanded outwards. Because we found the most issues in the industry were happening at the human level rather than the machine level, because obviously humans and machines don't work without humans. That's just a fact of life. And so if you can take data or information that the human knows, like defects or downtime reasons or part shortages or parts that seem to be, or tools that seem to be misbehaving, you can take this data and correlate it with the actual raw data that's coming out of the machine. And so here, in this example, you have spindle speed on the right-hand side along with a part count. These are both coming from the machine directly. You've got a machine status that you've custom configured to be applied to this specific type of machine. And then you have this entire machine application. This machine terminal is just a Tulip app with a little bit of instruction, just what the operator needs to do their job. So there's a quick note here to ensure that the fixture is tightened to the piece and nuts, and that the piece and nuts are torqued to greater than 20 inch-pounds, along with a CAD drawing of the part. And also in the bottom left-hand corner, you've got a work order ID. So again, we're harkening back to this connection to an ERP for this kind of holistic data approach. So ultimately, why do you want to do all of this? Well, like raw data collection provides context for really popular downstream metrics that everybody's interested in, like first pass yield and OEE. Something at Tulip that we also talk about is OEE is great. It's good in context, in machining context, but OPE is also something that you probably want to look at, and that's overall process efficiency. How is everything working on my shop floor? How are they working together? It's one thing to say just the machines, but you have to recognize that's only part of the picture. So that's devices and machines. Talk a little bit more about getting value from your existing systems of record. So systems of record, ERPs, MESs, these are really good at storing and managing complex data and relationships. You know, these are, to say, it doesn't do it justice to say glorified database, but because there's like UI elements, there are integration elements, but you know, there's a lot of complex things. There are many complex things happening to your data inside of an ERP or an MES, and that's fantastic because you have a lot of complex data. The only problem with that is that it's hard to use if you haven't been trained on it. It's not easy to make changes. You have to kind of work with the people in your organization that understand the software. And it certainly doesn't just surface the data that operations needs when they need it. So, and even if it does, you know, it's doing so in a very bloated way with data all over the place, and you have a bunch of visual cues that you need to be able to understand clearly, so that you can access the data and the analytics that you want when you want them. And so so that's kind of like talking about some of the good and the bad parts of systems of record. So how do you connecting Tulip to systems of record? This is something that I would say 90% of our customers talk about in the first few months, because they have all of these systems and they provide value. They do add value to your organization, but there are like some flaws in them, and you want to make up for them with a product like that brings you into the digital industry 4.0 kind of space. So how do you connect these two seemingly things that are seemingly at odds ends with each other? And that is like a 30-year-old, well-established, super complex system with a young kind of like or like newly introduced ecosystem or a piece of software into your ecosystem. And so the way that you do it is you first start by thinking about your process and systems holistically. I've mentioned something like that a few times. You basically need to consider all aspects of your business rather than like hyper-focusing on one when you think about your system architecture as a whole. So moving on, so don't be overwhelmed with systems that have complex schemas. They all do, and you know, that's a benefit and a hindrance, as I've mentioned earlier. This particular part of a Tulip application implementation is an ideal area for quick wins. So basically, what you do is you start small. You say this is my use case. I'm taking this application and I'm going to apply it to this value stream because I'm like already well aware that this is the problem child of on my shop floor, and I want to do something to improve that. And you know, taking this use case and expanding on it, like how do I do something simple like speed up operator data entry, or surface just the data that an operator needs when they're performing a task. Let's, you know, keep things small, and basically you want to find the thing that adds the most value to your organization in the least amount of time. And finally, and this is like just a helpful tip as somebody who works with IT departments all the time, and that is get buy-in from your IT department. It's likely that your IT department is not managing or maintaining the data in your system, but it is likely that your IT department is managing the actual like implementation and maintenance of the system as a technical solution for your organization. And so what that means is that the keys to your data warehouse or your existing system of record are probably held by IT departments. And so getting buy-in either top down or bottom up is something that is really beneficial. You want to be able to say, hey, I have this awesome tool that I want to use. Here's the business case for why I want to use it. And getting the IT department on your side is a really, really helpful way to go about making connections seamless. In Tulip, once the data is like exposed via like an IT department or something, getting the data into Tulip is very simple. We have this concept called Tulip connectors. Each of these connectors, this kind of represents a connection to a system. And then each of these connectors have a set of connector functions, which essentially are exposed to the manufacturing engineer who's building the applications in the form of trigger actions. So you can say, when I click on this button, I want to get work order ID based on the barcode scanner, the barcode scanner's value that the operator is working with right now. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So you can do multiple operations against a connection to any system with these connectors. We have two different types of connectors, SQL and HTTP. The SQL supports the four big RDBMSs. That's MySQL, Postgres, Oracle DB, and Microsoft SQL Server. And then we support REST and SOAP APIs via TCP/IP. And so a lot of PLMs, a lot of more modern PLMs like Onshape and Autodesk support REST APIs. And that's the way that you transfer data over the internet. So one quick use case, I won't go too much in detail, but this was a use case that we did separately. And this was actually a customer that I worked with very regularly. And it was like a very inspiring story for me, at least, because they essentially came to us with a problem. And that was they needed to help their operators get their jobs done. But they also needed to connect their ERP and their PLM because that was where all of their data lived. And right now they were doing literally like printouts of their ERP and their PLMs. They had filing cabinets with all of their CAD documentation that they needed to like print out at a regular basis and update so that their operators had access to this data because they needed it. But there was no reason for all of this, paper and all of these manual operations. And so very early on, they said, okay, we want to use Tulip on this value stream. The very first thing we need to do is connect our ERP. And so me and a couple of other people on the customer team at Tulip built an integration with them to NetSuite to get all of their data on their work orders in real time for their operators. And then a little bit later, we connected Onshape as well. Onshape was their PLM, is their PLM. And so it was from this PLM that they were getting all their CAD data for the operators when they need it at the data they need at the time they need. And so this was a really inspiring story because there were so many light bulbs that went off in the customer's head as we were like talking about this. I would like pose questions like, okay, how will Tulip know? Like we know the job that the operator is working on. Tulip knows that, and we can retrieve the work order that the work order that this is coming from. How are we going to know which set of documentation to pull for this part? And they didn't have a good answer, and that really switched the light bulbs, flipped a switch in their heads when they think about their organization as a whole, because they realize they need to be able to connect all of these different parts of their ecosystem so that they could get the most value in the aggregate. So there's a link here when Patrick or Caitlin shares the slides. I want to urge everyone to go and watch the video associated with this case study and read everything about it. It's really inspiring. So finally, we're going to put it all together. So starting from the left and working to the right, one of the first things, like I just said in the case of RBW, one of the first things is like, oh, I know where I want to put Tulip. I need to connect my ERP. I need to connect my PLM, my CRM, my data lake. These for Tulip to be successful, for me to be successful with Tulip, I need to connect it to the things that I care about the most. And so that includes systems, but that also includes machines and devices. And you connect these different things in your existing ecosystem through like OPC UA or MT Connect or the connector framework, like I was mentioning earlier, or with our plug and play devices and the Tulip Edge device. You do all this, you connect all these things to the Tulip platform, you build applications, you deploy those applications, you modify and create new pieces of data that you store in a dynamic data model like Tulip tables. That's just like a way to store data persistently across applications. It's like a spreadsheet kind of analogous. And then all of this is, iterated on and worked on to make sure that it's providing the most value over the longest period of time. So that's basically what I've got on devices, machines, sensors, and getting the most value out of your systems of record. So I'm not sure, Dave, am I going to pass it back to you, or Caitlin, would you like to take it for question and answer?
Tell you what, we could start working down the list for questions and answers. Is that good, Caitlin and Josh? Yeah. Okay. So I'll take the first one here. This is a CPS question. So question is, does CPS build apps for the client, or do they build their own? So short answer is yes, and both. So CPS will build apps for our clients. Clients can also go through training through Tulip and with advanced training through CPS if they want it for some of the more advanced features. They can build the apps on their own. The great thing is you don't need coding experience. Like a lot of the stuff that Josh showed you, you don't need coding experience to build the apps, which makes it such a great tool for the shop floor, and you can get up and going very quickly. If you don't have the capacity or you want to accelerate your deployment, that's where CPS comes in to help with that. Next question, analytics, are they built into the blank canvas version of an app? Josh, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Would you mind reading it one more time? Sorry about that.
Yeah, sure. Question is, are the analytics built into the quote blank canvas version of an app? I think asking basically, are they natively available?
Yeah, totally. So again, like Dave said, the answer is yes. It's both. You can either surface all of your analytics in the Tulip website, so your supervisors, your anyone on the shop floor can access the analytics through the website, or you can build applications and embed the analytics in those apps. So something that a lot of our customers do is they build applications that are like interactive. They go through, they have different views, they change shifts, they change, different value streams, different sites, both individually and in the aggregate. And they expose this like Tulip application to people on their daily on their desk computers, or on the mobile app. So the answer is both. You can do whatever suits you. Yeah.
Then we have a few questions. I'll try and kind of combine them together about various types of sensors. So we have one question asking about vibration, press force, or leak, and then a specific question about Omron, Cognex, and Keyence. Some brand-based questions. Josh, you want to tackle that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So vibration, press force, and leak. I'm assuming that's asking about can we integrate with these sensors? Yes, the answer is absolutely. We've done any number of those across a few of our customers. Vibration sensors and leak sensors are, all three, we've done all three via GPIO and analog. So basically on the Tulip IO gateway, there's a set of 16 GPIO ports. And so you can either put digital input and output, or you can use analog voltages. You can measure those. So yep, the answer is without a doubt yes. Do you work with Omron, Cognex, and Keyence? We do work with Cognex directly. Keyence and Omron, I would have to go back and look at our list of people that we've either worked with or have built drivers for.
Caitlin's telling us that we're in the process of developing drivers for Keyence. So thanks, Caitlin.
Yeah, and if you send an email to any of the panelists or sales or Caitlin or Josh at tulip.co, we can tell you more about how those integrations specifically would work.
Yep. Yeah, that's it happens all the time. People want to use Tulip with a device, and so we say, okay, great, let's integrate this into Tulip. So.
All right, next one is OPC. I know what it is, but I had to look up the actual term here. So OPC, also referred to as OPC UA, it's short for Open Platform Communications United Architecture. But what you really need to know about that is many of your machines, your PLCs and your controllers, like for your CNC machines, et cetera, they have a protocol that can be used to talk to other devices that's called OPC UA. And Tulip can connect with that OPC UA. And really what that allows you to do is if you have a CNC machine out on your shop floor, it has a ton of information. Well, that can be accessed by Tulip to provide you that machine monitoring or other information that you want to get out of that machine directly. So that native connection winds up being really powerful for building these apps. And you can get a lot of information in the hands of your operators and your leaders very quickly and very seamlessly. So OPC is a really handy protocol and makes that connection makes Tulip really powerful.
Yeah, it's certainly industry standard across all machine manufacturers.
Yeah,
it's a really good way to aggregate all of the machines on your shop floor into one central location, and then connect that to whatever systems you want to Tulip in this case.
Mm-hmm. All right, Josh, next question. So how do app creators and users, how do they use the connectors to contextualize the machine data from a particular machine?
How do app creators and users use the connectors to contextualize the machine data from a particular machine? So, I might need some help with this one, just so if I'm not understanding correctly.
Yeah.
But I think. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think if we think about it in terms of, think about your app that's facing the operator, maybe as being kind of central to the conversation. So you want to think about, first of all, what do you want to provide to the operator to make your operator most successful? That's usually a starting point. And so first off, you can utilize those, your developer or your app creator can utilize those connectors to go out and connect to your machines. They can also connect to your systems like your ERP, your MES, or your other system. They can pull data in and provide it to the operator, and you can pick out what data you want to show to the operator. Well, that gives information when you think about contextualizing. That gives information now that your operator can consume to do his or her job, do it well. At the same time, the operator, you can also ask your operator for information. So what data do you want your operator to give you throughout? Maybe you want your operator to give you additional context to your downtime reasons. Like maybe the machine says, hey, I've been down for 15 minutes. Put into the app that if the machine is down for more than 10 minutes, you ask your operator why. And the operator says, hey, I paused to go to lunch, and the operator puts that information in there. Well, now you have both sets of data. You have your data that came out of your machine. You have your data that came from your operator, and now you have both of those key pieces of information together. And so hopefully that's getting at the question. If you need some more, if you're looking for something more, please drop us another question. We'll try and answer it. The next question is the Tulip app connecting to MES systems? Again, short answer, yes. A lot of times, your MES systems, you might feel a little limited. Maybe you're not, maybe it's providing you some of the information you need. You want to provide some more, or maybe you're not getting the connectivity you need either to your IoT devices, to your ERP system or other. Tulip can, in many cases, it can replace an MES, or it can certainly augment an MES and provide more power to an MES that you already have. Josh, you want to give a couple examples of some of the MESs that you've connected to recently?
Yeah. Most of the heavy hitters, Aprizo is one that we've done in several circumstances. SAP has some MES qualities to it, and we connected to SAP several times. Yeah, I would say those are two good examples.
Good. All right. Going back, let's see, is there a limit to the amount of machines that can be added to a machine monitoring via CAP?
Via what?
Via CAP, K-E-P. So is there a
CAP.
limit to the number of machines that can be monitored via CAP?
Yep. So there's not. There's not. That's not how Tulip doesn't maintain that specifically. Caitlin, you might be able to, like technically there's no reason, but in terms of like limiting the amount of connections to machines, I don't know, is that something you'd be able to add more color to?
I'd say the short answer is no, there's not a limit.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the limiting factor wouldn't be Tulip.
The limit, right.
Next question, again, talking about some devices. So can Tulip monitor with accelerometers or industrial ICP microphones? I'm going to say on this one, the short answer is yes, but there's always specifics based on manufacturer, et cetera. So as Caitlin said, that would be a great question if you can email that to us, if you have a specific use case, provide us with some additional information. We can look up the specifics. Probably more importantly, what's the problem that that you want to solve, and we can talk about how we can help you solve that. All right, I'm getting the flag. Petticore, thank you to tackle two more questions here. Let's see. All right, this is a good one. They're all good, but where does the plant's IT team come into the picture? They may be normally the key decider or the approver for such automation transformation projects. I'm going to tell you what, maybe we answer this one in two ways. I'm going to hit it from the what I think is the manufacturer's point of view. And Josh, if you can give your experience on it as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. So first off, Tulip apps are typically built, Tulip is not meant to be an IT tool in the way that like ABAP or, ABAP development or, other code-based development would be done, kind of your traditional code-based approach. So Tulip, being a low-code or no-code platform, is designed for your frontline support teams to be able to develop apps. So think about that as a starting point. So as such, usually the kind of the driver is either the high-level operations leadership. I've seen it be CFOs or VPs of ops, directors of operations, directors of quality, and others tend to be the initial drivers saying, we're trying to get better data. We're trying to make our data more useful. We're trying to make our shop floor more efficient. And they're typically the drivers on these projects. And typically that's tied to companies' larger strategies. But what I'd also say is, Josh mentioned it earlier, it is really helpful to have IT brought in at the beginning of the conversation, because usually they're the enablers, either allowing security or just being a partner in the process, allowing the connectivity to the ERP systems and others. So I'd say, again, typically operations, quality, finance are often the drivers, but make sure you have IT as one of your key partners as you start the conversation. Josh, you want to add in on that?
No, that was great. I mean, the only thing I would say is that it's specifically, the reason IT is brought up is because it's specifically when we talk about systems of record. When it comes to Tulip Edge devices, I would say the requirements from IT are extremely minimal. But it's the systems of record that have these complex data schemas that typically you need some support from other aspects of your organization. So.
All right. And then service and installations. Josh, you want to talk about that briefly?
Service and installations. Yeah, what's the question?
Just talking about... I think the first part of the question, just talk us through real quickly. So if I want to get started on my shop floor, what does an install look like?
What does an install look like? Well, before
so
you do the install,
do the real simple version, yeah.
Yeah, so before you do the install, you should think about where your problems are and what you
Yep.
want to fix about them, and where you want to focus on. So that's the first thing. The first thing is coming at it from a business and a manufacturing perspective. Once you kind of figure that out, install is it's a cloud platform. So the hope is that install is trivial. Certainly, if you're not connecting to something that requires IT, like a system of record, at least to start, there's not really a whole lot of install. It's, go to the website, Tulip, your name.tulip.co, and download the Tulip player, put it on a computer, whether that's like a tablet or an actual desktop computer that's on the workbench. And then it's like you download an exe file and you install it. It's like a regular, piece of software like anything else. So I would say the traditional like install and like, this is not like, if you're thinking about this as like an older, larger, more complex system, that you're probably not thinking about it properly, because Tulip is like built to be this tool that you can get ROI from very, very quickly. You can from day zero start to use a Tulip app. And that's kind of the biggest selling point for most of our customers, because if you're starting on day zero, that means by day 100 you've got it pretty nailed down for a particular value stream. And that's just like not something that the vast majority of other players in this space can offer. It takes on the order of 6 months to like 2-3 years. And buy-in from people in and out of the organization to get things done. So ultimately, the answer to your question is that Tulip is a self-serve cloud platform. Self-serve doesn't mean that it has to be self-serve. We can also help you, people like Dave and everyone he works with, as well as like me and people I work with. We can certainly do as much help as you need, but you don't need us. That's kind of the glory of it.
Yes, thank you so much, Josh, and thank you, Dave, and thank you to all of our participants. Thank you for all of the great questions. Anything we didn't answer, we will follow up with you directly. We'll also be sending out the recording and all of these slides directly to everyone who registered, and you'll be able to reply to that email. And we'll follow up, hopefully continue these conversations. We also plan to have 2 more webinars in the next few months. So keep your eye out for emails on that. And thank you all so much again, and enjoy the rest of your day.